What's up guys, Alex here. I'm here to give you a little bit of a tip on something you can do to possibly enhance your hunting property, something that's pretty easy to do, and that is putting in a water hole. Now this here, it's super cheap, pretty easy to do. A couple years ago I went to the store, I think it was Family Dollar, and bought this kiddie pool. It was only like 20 bucks, something like that. The idea is to fill it with water and hopefully give the deer something to maybe mill around on. Not necessarily make it like a focal point for them, but just something to give them something to catch their attention. Here in Michigan, you're not allowed to use, legally not allowed to use like deer attractants, no minerals, no bait piles, which can sometimes make things tough to kind of narrow down where they're going to be to get a bunch of trail cam pictures of them in the summer. An easy way around that is just give them something to stop at. And this water hole, that's kind of what the purpose is. I ran one 3 years ago, and we actually had a bunch of pictures in the summer of a couple really nice bucks actually drinking out of it at the same time. So they do work. It's not necessarily going to be a main staple of like this is their destination water source, but it gives them something to stop at, maybe on their way out to a food source, something to just narrow them down so you're getting them in front of your cameras multiple times. This spot right here, it's a little bit of a staging area. We're only about 30 yards off the food plot. But on the other side of us, the ridge kind of dumps down right here, and it's just this little open bowl where it seems like they all kind of filter through. The idea is putting that pool right there and then we'll hang a camera over it, and hopefully they stop there for enough time to get a few pictures of them before they end up heading out there in the evenings to feed. And I think these water holes can kind of serve a purpose in hunting season as well, especially in early season. Like I said, it's not, I mean, there's a river, I'd say probably about 500 yards that way, in a pond. So that's more of a better water source for them. But early season, I mean, this is something that, let's say, I think they could be bedded deer within 100 yards of me right over here. It could be something that they maybe want to just stop. They don't want to necessarily go out into the field in daylight, let's say your first week of October, but they might stop here and get a little bit of a drink the last half hour of daylight stage around here before they head out into the field. And that's something that this can be a really killer spot too. Got a tree stand that's like 20 yards behind us here. That's a brand new spot this year. We haven't even ever had it here. So it's kind of just a trial and error, but I think, you know, the logic of it makes a lot of sense. The spot that we used to have one is kind of more on a main runway, so they were kind of filtering through that naturally, and it wasn't really, I think they more just like stop and sniff at it, whatever, there's some water there, but keep walking by. This spot right here has more of an early season feel where we're right backed up to the bedding, and they only have to go about 60 yards to leave their bedroom, hit that pool, and hopefully head out to the field after that. So I think this is gonna be a really cool spot. I'm pretty excited. We'll take you through and I'll kind of show you how we made it. So this is the food plot here that we think the deer are going to be, that's gonna be their destination food, hopefully in the evenings. Obviously it's not planted yet. We're planting some fall mixes in there. There's some clover mixes in now, but we'll be planting some fall mixes in there later in the summer. But the idea is that's where they're heading. Now this is a main runway that comes right out to this field here. And you can see the pool is right in there. So like I said, we're only about 30 yards off the edge, but it feels like it's back in here enough that we could possibly get those deer hanging up before they want to go out in daylight, but they might daylight here in the last half hour. Now our stand location is right up in that big tree, right up that split. So you see we got about a 15-yard shot to the pool, absolute chip shot, and it sets up really nice. Now we expect the deer to come up off that thick ridge, work down here, through here, and then out to the field there. Putting this whole thing together is really pretty simple. We just dug a hole. I had a couple helpers yesterday, and we dug a hole that was about the size of the pool, maybe a little deeper. We want to get it buried down in there as far as possible. And then once we got it sitting nice, we kind of just filled in the edges, just put the dirt back in the edges just so it wouldn't move around. And then nothing can get down stuck up in there, bury itself up underneath it as well. And after that, it was kind of just figuring out how to get the water back here. Luckily with this spot, we're able to fill a bunch of trash cans. We filled a big trash can and a big cooler full of water and put them in the back of the truck. We were able to drive right to the edge of the field, and it was only about a 30-yard carry in here with a bucket of water. We just scoop them out and dump it in, which is pretty nice. If you can find a spot that you can do that, that's good. The spot that I used to have one was about 150 yards off the edge, so that's a long way to carry buckets of water. So definitely, but I think this type of thing too is, it's not really one that you want to put on a field edge. I mean, maybe, but the idea here is I think you're, especially for hunting season, you're trying to get a spot where those deer can come to but still feel comfortable in daylight. Not necessarily expecting the deer to be in this field edge. I mean, there's a road on the other side. I'm not necessarily expecting them to use this a whole lot in daylight, especially in deer season. But this here should give them a spot that they'll be comfortable in hitting. So you can really do this anywhere. It just depends on how much work you want to put into it. If you want to go way back in the middle of your property and put one of these, it's probably a better spot. The closer you can get to the bedding, the better. The shorter amount of distance they have to go. But you also have to consider getting in there and getting out. This stand location is going to be super easy to sneak into on the afternoon hunts and sit without having to spook any deer. And any kind of wind that's blowing, so we're going to need any kind of anything south is going to be perfect here. Straight east will work, and honestly probably straight west too, just nothing out of the north because the bedding is all south of the stand. So we sneak in here, getting that set up, and if you don't see anything by dark, you should be able to theoretically get out of here pretty clean too without spooking anything, because there's probably not anything that way of you. So it's a really cool setup, and it's definitely something that I recommend giving a try. And if you're not, even if you're planning on hunting it, maybe if you just want to put a camera over a pool, because like I said, it might not be a destination water source for them, but they likely will hit it and check it out. And especially in summer months when it's hot, if they're walking through close to bedding and they see a pool sitting there with some water, they're probably going to take a drink. And I did get some questions about like what I thought about the blue, if I thought the blue of the pool kind of spooked them, like why didn't you spray paint it, whatever. To be honest with you, like I said, we had all those deer, getting all those pictures of deer on it the last couple times we did it, and I don't think they care a whole lot about it. They just see water there and they're gonna drink it. So like I said, that pool has a couple holes in it. We might have to replace it here, but I'm gonna throw a camera over there either way. Probably leave it for a week, and then I'll come back and check it, and if the pool leaks a bunch more water, then we'll probably put a different one in here, which that'll be a lot more work, but might as well try to keep water in as best as possible. So, but yeah, just a decent little tip that I give you guys. You know, it's pretty easy. It costs 20 bucks and a little bit of elbow grease, and you got yourself a little mini watering hole. So try it out this summer.